Good evening. Our first guest this evening, down the line from Washington, D.C., is Tom Homan. He is President Trump's border czar. Now, he's somebody that's been involved in border enforcement for absolutely decades, and you can see a picture of him as a young man coming up on your screen, looking pretty cool. He's gone on, he's served several administrations, and he is pretty uncompromising. See him on this recent clip on the big American TV show, 60 Minutes.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Why should a child who is an American citizen have to pack up and move to a country that they don't know?
Because their parent absolutely entered the country illegally, had a child knowing he was in the country illegally, so he created that crisis.
Well, under Tom's tenure, there have been some quite remarkable results. Have a look at this graph of US border crossings over the course of the last few years. And you can see the massive spike that was occurring during the time of Joe Biden's presidency. And look now where the numbers are. They have fallen by 97%. Quite remarkable. And the Department of Homeland Security have announced that 2 million illegal immigrants have been removed or self-deported since January the 20th, the inauguration of the president. These are truly astonishing figures, although there does appear to be some backlash against it. And I'm very pleased that Tom Homan joins me down the line now. Tom, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on GB News. Just quickly, before asking how you've managed to achieve these extraordinary numbers, clearly something of a backlash in Texas today with this horrible shooting and with anti-ICE being written on the unspent bullets. Is this the first such incident, or is this now a regular thing?
No, there's been many incidents. Assaults against ICE, attacks against ICE have increased over 1,000%. 1,000%. And I think there's a lot that has to do with hateful rhetoric. And I said months ago, this hateful rhetoric, if it continues, there's going to be bloodshed. Someone's going to die. And of course, the left attacked me as being a fear-monger. But I stood by what I said, and unfortunately, I was right. No, this is the third shooting in Texas. We had one shooting at a Border Patrol facility where they're shooting at a building full of Border Patrol agents. He ended up dying in exchange of gunfire. Then there's another attack just south of Dallas, Texas, where today's incident occurred, where a group of people attacked an ICE facility and ended up shooting one officer through the neck. Then this latest one at another ICE facility in Texas, where a lone gunman shot at people being transferred into the facility. And unfortunately, we had two migrants that have died, one serious, and no officers were hurt. But later on, when they found the perch where this gunman was sitting, they had, one of the shell casings had anti-ICE on it. Yeah. So, this was another ICE attack.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Yeah, and now, look, the president was elected on this ticket that he'd stop the border crossings, he would deport people who'd come to America illegally. And let's just begin by talking about this Department of Homeland Security announcement. So, as I understand it, 1.6 million people who came into America illegally have gone voluntarily. How, Tom, have you managed that?
There's consequences, right? So we have over 1,000 ICE teams out on the streets every day enforcing the immigration law. We send a clear message to the whole world that if you're here illegally, especially if you're a public safety threat, national security threat, we're looking for you, you're going to be gone. But we're also going to enforce the law against other illegal immigrants. So, we've been pushing hard. They know what the consequences are. We're letting ICE agents do exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and the message is getting out. So I think a lot of people are choosing to leave on their own rather than being formally deported, because if they're formally deported by ICE, then they have a statutory bar where they can't come back to the country for a period of time, for anywhere from 5 to 20 years to never, depending on a specific case. And we've been advertising a lot that leave on your own and leave yourself available to come back under a legal program in the future. But if we have to seek you out and remove you, you may never come back, never be allowed for a visa, or if you have a U.S. citizen child, they can't petition for you. So we've sent a strong message. I think they're listening. So it's been very successful. These consequences, these self-removals, was a part of our strategy from the beginning. That's why we made sure that people realize there's consequences. You see 1,000 teams out there every day. Leave on your own and make life easier for yourself in the future.
Now, 2 million, in the space of, well, let's face it, it wasn't until the end of January that Trump became the 47th president. Do you have a target, Tom, over the course of this 4-year presidential term?
No, I don't have a numerical target. I just said I'll be happy when every illegal alien public safety threat and national security threat are no longer in this country. That'd be number one. And number two is enforcing the immigration law. I said before, it's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. And a lot of people think that's awful, strong stance to take, but I need to remind people there are thousands, millions of people around the world standing in line, taking their tests, getting their background investigation, paying their fees. To do things the right way, to be part of the greatest nation on earth. And these people are all in the back seat because millions of people came across the border and Joe Biden cheated the system. They got in front of the line illegally, entered the country illegally, and make a false claim to asylum. And again, there are thousands of people in the world that really do need our protection because of race, religion, and political affiliation, and they're sitting in the back of the bus. So no, this is about consequences. It's about enforcing the law.
Yeah. And on the border, famously in the 2016 campaign, Donald Trump talked about building a great big, beautiful wall on the southern border. How is it that crossings have fallen? Because we've got a problem here in this country, as you well know, and we discussed it the other week. How is it you've managed to get crossings down by 97%? Have you built a big wall?
Well, the wall helps, but I think it's ending catch and release. We send a strong message. If you come to the border illegally, you're not being released to wait for a hearing you probably never show up at anyways. So we end it catch and release. Look, the law is clear in federal statute. If you come to the border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, not have options, shall be detained. So here's your option. You come to the border legally, you're either going to be detained or immediately removed. You're not going to be released in the United States to not show up in court in the future. We also got the third safe country agreement, so people should be claiming asylum in the first free country they come to. A lot of these times, people pass through several countries, free countries. If they're really escaping fear and persecution from their home government, why are they not claiming asylum in the first free country they come to? So that's important. But the wall works. The walls work. Every place a wall's been built, a barrier's been put in, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flow declined. But one of the things about the wall that no one talks about, and I do, the wall saves lives. Because women and children, the most vulnerable, can't get over the wall, which means they go to a place where there's not a wall, and the men and women on the Border Patrol will be there to take care of those humanitarian needs. And because a lot of these people are in bad shape when they get there. So, I think with President Trump, with illegal migration down 96, 97%, when the border is that secure, it saves lives. Less people are coming to the border, which means less people are selling everything they own to give it to a criminal cartel to swim across the river. Less women are being raped. Less children are dying making that journey. Less aliens are dying overall, because over 4,000, a historic number, died under Joe Biden. Secure border saves lives, and that's exactly what we did. President Trump is saving thousands of lives every month.
Tom Homan, thank you very much indeed for joining me live from the White House. Thank you. Well,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm joined by Jeff Hoon and Kwasi Kwarteng. That was all pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was very clear, very muscular. I'm not sure that in the UK necessarily that would work. But he had a very clear account of what they're doing.
Well, clearly, I mean, we've looked at the shooting that's happened today, and he's made the point that there have been many violent attacks against ICE officers, against this process. But kind of, if Trump was elected to do this, then they're doing the right thing.
Well, look, I mean, he's been very clear, the president, that he felt that was unacceptable. Anecdotally, and I think there's some data to show this, immigration was a big issue for his voters.
Yep.
And he won the presidency. And as a Democrat, I mean, a person who believes in democracy, we've got to accept that.
Jeff, your days in government, the Labour Party actually was very tough in those days about deporting people who came into Britain illegally. What do you make of the American approach? What do you make of the words that Tom spoke?
I think it's first of all important to say that immigration into the United States is very different from immigration into the UK.
What on scale?
Has a different history. Every one of my relatives in the United States, every one of my friends there, can tell you exactly when their father, their grandfather, occasionally their great-grandfather arrived. President Trump is the product of two immigrants to the United States. So immigration into the United States has a long history. And I suspect that many of the people trying to cross the border from the south are people who think that that policy, a relatively open policy into the 60s and 70s, is still in existence. It clearly isn't, and I totally agree with Kwasi's point. President Trump was elected on a very clear commitment to deal with immigration. But there is a real difference between a country that's built on immigration, as the United States is, and a country like the United Kingdom, where immigration has not been a huge feature of our population.
Well, it has since Tony Blair came to power. I mean, the population's risen by 10 million, nearly all of that directly or indirectly through immigration. I mean, it's changed a lot in the last 25 years.
But one of the differences between that immigration, which is largely from the EU, and the kind of immigration we're seeing today, actually, as a result of changes that Boris Johnson made, is that immigration from the EU was often from people who were coming here for specific periods of time. They were coming to learn, they were coming to study, perhaps gain experience, but they weren't necessarily giving up on their family back in Poland or Italy or Portugal. Many people I've met were working in the health service to gain experience. What I think was damaging about the relaxation that Boris Johnson made is that as a result of leaving the EU, we ended up bringing in large numbers of people from the Far East who, frankly, are going to stay.
And that was our choice. That was our choice.
That was a terrible mistake,
No,
in my
but the
opinion.
broader point that we're trying to make, that I would make, is that it's in a way, it's the principle. So they are very, very tough on this issue. And the government I was part of wasn't. And I'm not sure that the Labour government will be particularly tough on
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll leave it there. We'll take a break and we'll come back and I will ask my panel the question. Given that both the last government and this government publicly say that they will deal with illegal immigration, are there lessons we can learn from the USA?